Oop. Best friend secretly recorded phone conversation and played it to the person in discussion. I am not op. Original post by you, seeking advice 0319 in our advice. Mood spoiler. A bit disappointing. Less than. And NBSP. Best friend secretly recorded phone conversation and played it to the person in discussion. Her boyfriend. March 2022. English is not my first language, so apologies for any errors. The names are fake. My best friend, 23, F, and I, 23, F, met 10 years ago during a gathering and developed a strong bond immediately. We transitioned from teenage to adulthood together. Shared everything with each other. Crushes, heartbreaks, fallatures, achievements. We literally knew every single detail of other person's life. One could say that our bond was unbreakable. Until the incident. The incident involves 3 people: my best friend, Susan, her boyfriend, Jake, and I. Susan met Jake in an online course. They flirted for a month before getting together. Susan had fallen head over heels for Jake, and I was so happy to see her happy. A few weeks after getting together with Jake, Susan came to my place. Teary-eyed. She had been crying for hours. Jake was great to Susan, but he would mention his ex-girlfriend out of nowhere. They will be having a conversation when out of the blue he'd say that he is missing his ex. Or maybe he shouldn't have broken up with her. These things were breaking my friend's heart. I advised Susan to be honest with Jake and ask him if he is still hung over his ex. I didn't want my friend to be someone's rebound girlfriend while she fell knee-deep in love with him. Susan talked to Jake, and Jake assured her that he had completely moved on and only cared about Susan. But after a couple of days he said similar things again. Susan came to me. I told her to stand up for herself. She talked to Jake. He gave her the assurance. This cycle went on for 3 months, and I was starting to get tired of this. I was so mad at Susan for taking all of this. But I was there because I couldn't see her hurt. Fast forward to the incident. Susan calls me at 4 a.m. She's crying like a baby because of Jake. I couldn't take it anymore. So I advised her to end things with Jake. I reminded her of her qualities and how she deserves a guy who's crazy for her instead of his ex. I told her to not settle for anything less. Now I was very emotional at that time and might have said a 5-minute long monologue about how Jake is not the right guy and how she deserves genuine partner and things like that. After an hour-long call, she finally stopped crying. Susan calls me the next day to tell that Jake and her are back together. I ask her why. She says that she is not good with confrontation. So in the past she never confronted Jake about his ex. But yesterday when I was in my monologue mode, she was secretly recording my call. She recorded the conversation, the parts where she's silent and I'm ranting about Jake, and sent it him. She said that this made Jake realize his mistake and now they are better than ever. I calmly told her to forward me the recording and not contact me for 10 days. She obliged. I told this to my boyfriend and he said to cut all contacts with her. She's not showing a single sign of remorse either. But our mutual friends are asking me to forgive her to save our friendship. I'm really confused. Am I overreacting, or should I just forgive her for sake of our friendship? And NBSP. Update May 2022. So some time has passed since that incident. My anger has turned into hurt and disappointment. Why is it always that the person who does wrong remains unbothered while the person who receives it gets eaten up by the memory of it every day? Anyway, on to the update. I decided to take a break from our friendship. I'm avoiding her calls and other social events where she might be present. Susan and I had met a few times since she did what she did. There hasn't been any sign of remorse. I understand that sometimes people do crazy things in love, but I'm finding it very difficult to act like nothing happened. I still love Susan. She's always been close to my heart and I wish her the best. I don't even want an apology. Just an honest acknowledgement about her actions. If that ever happens in future, maybe I'll try to be friends again. But as of now I'm still sad by her actions and it's a real struggle to suppress that hurt and act normal. On a happier note, her boyfriend, Jake, did do sincere introspection after my recorded monologue. He has made improvements in his behavior and doesn't mention his ex-girlfriend anymore. They have made good progress in their relationship and are in a much healthier place now. And NBSP. Reminder, I am not the original poster. Friend. I'm a coward and rather than having a conversation with my BF, I'm going to secretly record my friend and let the recording do all the talking to my BF. When you get older you realize you don't have to be friends with people just because you grew up as friends. Sometimes, reading these posts is like being 19 again and dealing with 19-year-old drama. It was exhausting then and it's worse now. I'm so glad I don't have to be around myself at that age anymore. I'm really confused as to how Oop knows Jake has changed his behavior when Oop says she hasn't been talking to Susan. Who needs enemies with friends like that? How do you know she's not going to record every conversation you have? You can't be friends with someone who has proven to be untrustworthy. She made another post saying that she completely cut Susan off and deleted her contact info. With friends like this, who needs enemies? The friend won't show remorse. Because she doesn't even think she did anything bad. I know people like this. That disrespect me, lie, are hypocrites. But don't even think they've done anything wrong. And will want to be all buddy-buddy even as they literally tell you they did it. And it never occurs to them at all. The best thing is to step away from the friendship. But not to let it get to you as if it's something traumatic. I totally get this. My sister is in a bad relationship with a guy 10 years older than her and thinks he can manipulate her into doing what he wants. Hanging with who he wants. He recently went through her phone after he attended one of our extended relatives' birthday and through all her messages. This included my personal messages with her doing as Op did and even pointed out his red flags. She's still in love with him and in a relationship with him. I've avoided her and him since because I'm disappointed. I used to have a friend who would constantly complain about the way her boyfriend would do asshole things. She'd list every reason under the sun he was a terrible boyfriend, but then instead of standing up for herself or dumping his ass, she'd just keep signing up for the same mistreatment. Nothing abusive. It was so frustrating because she saw the problem, acknowledged it, did nothing about it, got hurt, and then would vent to me instead of unload on him. Repeat cycle. She was one of my closest friends and it was legit making me mad at her. But then I'd feel like the asshole because there's a reason she couldn't seem to internalize the idea that she didn't deserve to be treated well. Cough cough, childhood trauma. Real friends are supposed to listen to each other's problems and be a ready ear. And yet, my patience was wearing dangerously thin all the same. One day, I was ranting to my mom on the phone about my dilemma. How frustrated I was with her but also with myself for failing as a friend. She gave me life-changing advice. Be her friend in every way except that one. She'd had to do the same thing with her college friend. I held my friend as she cried over the loss of her dog. I helped her study for her most difficult class for hours and hours. I spent 3 hours doing elaborate makeup for her dragon Halloween costume. I drove to CVS 40 minutes away at 2 a.m. to buy Plan B when her boyfriend's condom broke and even paid for it to keep the charge off of her monitored credit card. I'd listen to her talk about her friends, family, pets, dreams, fears, opinions, plans and anything else under the sun. Just not complaints about her boyfriend. That's the reason we're still friends to this day. It's an important lesson. There are a million parts to being a good friend. Better to amputate one part, even a big one, than let the whole thing go rotten. Why is it the person who does wrong is always unbothered while the person who received gets eaten up by the memory? Quote, that is a great statement and so true. It brought me right back to a past situation of my own, haha. Susan sounds seriously emotionally immature. I'm glad Op cut contact. Did Oop ever really call her out for her betrayal? It sounds like she didn't want the confrontation either, and expects her friend to read her mind and just apologize without being prompted. Months and months of whining and she never once at least sent a cranky text? I really hope Oop is wrong and the friend tried to talk about it earlier. So much time wasted. The BF was even open to change after the call. I feel like this friendship can be saved if Oop doesn't repeat her friend's mistake and is just honest about their feelings. It doesn't have to be a big thing. I want to believe Susan understands why Oop is distant, but she doesn't seem very smart. You know what's interesting though is I don't think Oop had actively expressed to her why she's hurt. I know she just said, I calmly told her to forward me the recording and not contact me for 10 days. But I am surrounded by many easily oblivious people in my life. 10 days? She taking a trip or something? Oh well, to me, sounds like they are both terrible at communication and confrontation. I honestly think this could be resolved if she would sit her friend down and express how recording conversation and sharing it was a breach of trust and she felt violated. Honestly, I have a friend who ways brought up something I regretted in the past and didn't take any hint I gave her that I wanted her to drop it. I suddenly realized it was me and not her because I wasn't direct. Pulled her aside and told her nicely to not bring it up anymore and why. She apologized and never did it again. As far as I'm concerned, if Oop never told her friend she did something wrong, her friend will never know she did something wrong. As a coaches don't play person when it comes to dating, this is my nightmare scenario. I could never imagine someone coming to me for advice in good faith and using my ramblings without my permission. What if Jake was actually abusive? What if he tried to use those recordings to manipulate the situation and fully separate Susan from Op? What if he didn't take that advice and confronted Op in person? This went in the best possible direction and I'm glad no one was physically hurt. Susan was still a coward though, and I'm proud of Op for sticking to their guns and not resuming the friendship. Susan hates confrontation. It's always deeply disappointing when you grow up with someone only to discover they're not the person you think they are and you never imagined it would happen. My high school BFF and I were like this. Thick as thieves. Until her BF proposed and come the wedding. She was Queen Bridezilla. It destroyed our friendship. So I'm sorry Oop is hurting. The silver lining isn't worth the cost of that. I hope she's doing better and finds that it hurts a little less every day. Honestly, I would hope my best mate recorded summit like this. Hell, I'd tell her to. I hope she would hold the phone at arm's length in her so's face and be all like, yeah. What she said. Quote, friend needs therapy. VS he is doing better. That's Susan covering for him to make it seem worth it.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Eracast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.